Civil rights activist Cesar Chavez once said, "We cannot seek achievement for ourselves and forget about the progress and prosperity of our communities. Our own ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspirations and the needs of others, for their sakes and for our own." Welcome back to another episode of The Journey, Coffee, Life, and Well-Being. I'm very glad that you joined me for another interview and to listen to another story. I truly believe that we all have a story to share with the rest of the world. This next interview is with a very good friend of mine, Miguel Angel Duncan-Galvez Bravo. He is someone who has dedicated most of his professional career advocating for underrepresented communities and their equal rights. I hope that you enjoy this next interview, and like always, stay connected, live well, and drink great coffee. Welcome, everybody. This is The Journey, Coffee, Life, and Well-Being. And with us, we have Miguel Duncan-Galvez Bravo.
Thank you for having me.
Miguel, thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited.
It's a
Thank you for
pleasure to
being
have
here.
you here. And so we met about a year and a half ago, and we met through a mutual friend.
Yeah.
And since then, we've become really good friends. And you've shared some of your stories. You work for an organization here in Seattle called Entre Hermanos. And I know they impact the community. But before we go into details, I want you to share with me, how did you end up here in Seattle?
Well, funny story, actually. About 2 years ago, my husband and I were leaving the state of Hawaii. That's where we met after being there for 5 years. And the two options that I was given was Seattle or Colorado, and I don't do well in the cold, so I wanted to move to. I chose Seattle, but I mean, quite frankly, this is the best place for people of our generation, our age, to start a career, even to start families, and so it was a good choice. It was an easy choice. The city is very progressive. There's a lot of opportunities here, and I get to meet a lot of great people from all walks of life.
Yeah. Since I moved here, I know last year there was a specific number, about 1,400 people were moving weekly to Seattle. So I think you and I can say that we've seen this city boom, and it's continuing to grow. With business, a lot of tech companies that are moving here.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah.
We can agree with that.
We can.
Okay, great. So Miguel, what are your passions? What are you passionate about, and what is it that you do?
Well, I'm passionate about just working and giving back to the community. I've had a lot of opportunities to actually work in progressing and essentially giving better rights and better treatments to marginalized communities, whether it's people who identify as LGBTQ, whether it's minorities and undocumented people. So that's what I'm passionate about, and that's the reason why I am where I am career-wise. I've worked in statewide campaigns in Hawaii trying to help legalize same-sex marriage in 2013. We were able to get that passed through ACLU and HRC. It was a joint effort, and now with Entre Hermanos, I'm able to assist undocumented people who identify as LGBTQ that are Hispanic. And so I want to continue on that trajectory. I want to continue on that path and continue helping people. And that's eventually what I'm passionate about.
Okay, so if you can talk a little bit more of what Entre Hermanos does and what you do within that organization.
So Entre Hermanos is the only Hispanic LGBTQ organization in the entire state of Washington. So we are the only nonprofit that actually provides services for people who are gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender, who identify as Hispanic or Latino. And what I do, I am actually the fundraising manager for that organization. My job is simple: to bring new resources for the organization, whether it's new partnerships, whether it's corporate partnerships, individual philanthropy, or grant writing, and through those efforts create new programs to then give back to the community that we serve. My responsibility is to ensure that all of our fundraising campaigns, our gala and our brunch, are successful to grow year after year, which we've been doing since my upbringing with the organization. And we've also tripled essentially the corporate partners that we have, including the school that you actually work for. That relationship has been establishing for a couple of years now, but I've seen it grow in the last year and a half or so. From there, I'm also responsible for all of the community events that we have. Last year, we had the first ever Latino Pride in the state of Washington, where we celebrate the contributions that Latino community actually has done to the city, and that was really incredible. This will be the second annual for the Latino Pride that will be taking place in July. The other community event that I actually organize is South Park Picnic, which is the Pride opener, and that's going to be the only Pride event outside of Capitol Hill and Seattle, where we again bring services and resources to individuals living in South King County and South Park.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
So you are very well connected in the city with a lot of companies, and you've built a lot of relationships with authorities at different organizations.
Yeah, it's essentially my job to continue building new relationships, because without new relationships, then we are going to be limited to the number of resources that we can bring in. I mean, let's be frank. For anything that we do, you need money. You need money to build new programs. You need money to pay for the programs that we already have. Everything that we do as an organization is free for our client. And that's the reason why they brought me on board. That's the reason why I'm here, so that I can continue to provide services and resources to continue those programs.
So in building relationships, and especially in the field that you are, business development, what are the top things that you have learned on how to be successful at what you do?
Well, the thing that has got me to be successful in my field is that I'm able to actually tell my own personal story as to why I'm doing what I'm doing. At the end of the day, I don't want to just give a pitch when I'm talking to a potential new partner. I want to actually talk about the impacts that the organization has had, the impacts that essentially how it's affected me personally. I am a DACA recipient. I'm undocumented. I am gay. I moved to a state where I didn't know anyone or anything. I didn't know what resources were available for me. And I'm now then able to actually contribute essentially those same resources to people who are coming into the organization. So I mentioned a little bit about being a DACA recipient. I came to this country illegally when I was 2, back in 1990. And because of that, there were a lot of obstacles that undocumented people even now have to overcome. They're automatically put into this box where they're only expected to be criminals, like our current political president has said. We're criminals, we're this, we're that. And that's not necessarily true. There are a lot of undocumented people, DACA recipients specifically, who are expending essentially bringing in new opportunities for the state, for the people that they live in, the community that they live in, and that's what I'm doing now.
Great. So you mentioned that your immigration status, you're a DACA recipient, and to me, in my perspective, you have accomplished a lot, and I really admire that. I know you've gone through school, so I don't know, what schools have you gone?
So I actually got my bachelor's in political science from Cal State University Northridge. After that, I actually went to Hawaii Pacific University to get my master's in diplomacy and military studies, and hopefully at the start of next year or at the fall of next year, I'll be able to pursue a PhD in communications from the University of Washington.
You're a hustler,
That's the goal.
You're a hustler. I admire that. I admire that. And just to speak out there, hopefully if anybody out there is a DACA recipient, and you can see how the people that I've known that are DACA recipients are actually go-getters, and they're hustlers. And I think part of it has been because of their situation, right? And they're unstoppable, man. Yeah. Really. So Miguel, if you can share with me, what are the things that you value the most? Maybe you can mention 3 things that you value.
Well, the thing that I value the most is obviously going to be my family. My mom is my ultimate motivation. Other than my husband, my mom is my ultimate motivation, because she she was a single mom that took care of four children, working paycheck to paycheck, living, working 60 hours a week, making just ends meet for us to have what we need. And throughout our entire upbringing, our childhood, I never felt like I was missing anything because she made sure that she provided the best that she could. She made sure that she gave us the experiences that we needed so that we can continue. So that's something that will always motivate me, and I want to get to a point where I can then tell my mom, "You can now retire. You don't have to. You no longer have to work. You no longer have to worry about your bills." And I will continue to essentially strive for something better, for something more, and to grow and to educate myself even more, so that I can then give back to the person who's given everything to me.
Okay, so it sounds like you've had a good, figure like your mom, to be, someone to look up to. And, I personally think that mentors are really important. Do you have any mentors or people that you look up to? You already mentioned your mom, but is there anybody else that you look up to, and how important have these people been in your life?
Yeah, actually, so the one person that I've considered my mentor throughout the entire extent of my education in my life, her name is Nicole Chase. She's actually the director of business relations for the Boys and Girls Club of San Fernando Garden. That's in California. And I met her. She's had a lot of governmental roles throughout her career. And I met her when I was admitted to the Young Senators Program, which is a statewide program in California where they choose individuals from high schools to represent their community's district at the state capitol. And so she was my personal mentor in that program, and she became my actual mentor outside of that program. Every single time I've met up with her, every single time I've spoken to her, she always challenges me for more. So if I tell her, I would say more bragging to her about something that I've done, she applauds it, but then she says, "Okay, so what's next?"
Yeah.
And that's something that I always appreciate and admire, because I see in her what I want to do, what I want to be. This person is really well educated, and she's always provided and given everything she has back to her community. She is a strong advocate for Black Lives Matter. She is African American, but she's also a strong advocate for people who live in low income communities because of the struggles and obstacles that they have. She's run for political roles, primarily in education, representing the Department of Education in California, and she also ran for a couple of political seats in her district. So that's something that I admire someone like her.
Yeah, great. Do you live by any motto? Do you have a motto that you say, like just something, a key word or a sentence or just something that This is what Miguel lives by.
Actually, well, the thing is, I won't let anyone define me, and that's something that I would also tell anyone who essentially who has a dream and is skeptical about pursuing that dream, because just throughout my upbringing and growing up, I was always told by people throughout my journey that I wasn't able to do the things that I wanted to do. And every time someone told me no, I wanted to prove them wrong. Mostly because I'm stubborn, and I know that, but that's gotten me to get to certain locations. It got me to go to Hawaii and live there. It got me to pursue a graduate degree. It got me to essentially do things that I was and work on things that I was passionate about. Yeah. And so that's something I would just tell someone: don't let anyone define you, regardless of whatever circumstance you have. Just do whatever you feel is part of your dream.
Yeah, great. With that, how would you define success?
Well, I'll define success if I'm waking up every single day happy and knowing that I'm doing what I love to do. I want to continue to learn, and as long as I'm learning with everything that I do every single day, then I say that's pretty successful. And obviously paying the bills and making sure that I'm not struggling financially. Of course, yeah. But learning and being happy with what I'm doing.
Yeah, okay. Very good. So if you were giving a minute, and I hope, this is your last minute in life, you're about to die. But I really hope this happens along,
I hope so
you
too.
know,
Down the
not
line.
anytime soon. That's what I'm trying to say. But if you were in that situation, this is your last minute, and you had not only your family, your friends, but you were given the opportunity to send out a message to everybody and to impact their lives. What would it be in that last minute?
Prove people wrong. Prove people who doubt you wrong, and do what you want to do, and whatever makes you happy.
Yeah, so I guess going along with your motto, right?
Exactly.
Don't let anybody define you.
Exactly.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Before I ask you my last question, but I just want to say thank you for who you are and the things that you do, Miguel. I want to acknowledge all the impact that you're doing in the community, representing, marginalized communities, giving back, even besides the fact that your immigration status, that I have the sense that you're very proud of who you are.
Yeah.
You show that, like, I'm an immigrant, but I'm still successful, and I've achieved this much. You show that, and
Yeah.
that's great. I admire that, and so
Thank
I
you.
just want to thank you for all the work that you do. And finally, my last question would be, where do you hang out the most, and where can people find you on social media?
Well, I have two social medias that I use the most. My Facebook, if you want to find me on Facebook, it's my full name, Miguel Angel Duncan-Galvez Bravo. There's a hyphen between Duncan and Galvez. Or my Instagram, which is Galvez_Miguel. But this is where I hang out the most, in downtown Seattle or Capitol Hill. Mostly coffee shops, or just walking around and exploring something new that I normally have never seen.
Yeah, I'll put that on the link. I'll put your links on our post, and people follow Miguel. Miguel, thank you so
Thank you for
much
having me.
for being with
Yeah,
us
thanks, Samuel.
and sharing, who you are.
Yeah, thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak on my life experiences.
Perfect, great,
Thank you.
awesome.